Wolfgang and Sue. Sue's last Human Rights Commission
No, already?
You're gonna
Yes.
be at
Oh, yeah.
the next week, right?
will not be there, mostly because we won't have any nice snacks because it's virtual.
That was it. I might have moved heaven and earth to get there if there'd been food. No, I
I
have.
don't know what your motivations are. The snacks, like, were very good when I was in an in-person meeting.
It makes a
Um,
difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I looked forward to them.
It's
No,
like
I have
it's fresh
election
broccoli.
officer training that night, and it's what we call in the Charlottesville election people, the team, which is the chief, the assistant chief, the closer, and the research officer. And I'm the research officer, and I've been that many times, and we have a new chief, so I better be there.
Yep. Wow. You do so much.
So
Sue.
civically engaged.
But besides
Yeah.
missing that, I'm also missing, Legal and the Voters is having a forum for the Fluvanna County School Board, along with the NAACP in Fluvanna County.
Oh, wow.
And I've been planning that, and I'm missing that too.
Man,
Oh, well,
how do you do all this stuff? It's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible. Thanks for all your service.
oh, well, you're quite welcome. I've always said very rarely do I do anything that I don't actually like doing. Every once in a while, I'm forced to do something that I don't like, but for as long as I've been on this commission, obviously I'd like doing it, so.
Very good. Well, we'll chat before you depart completely about VAHR and how we.
Oh, yes, I
It's
do want to, I
it's
do want to say something about that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll,
You can email me.
yeah, I was gonna say I'd pop in on you, but you're way too busy to pop in on.
You can pop in. I'll make time for it.
I think we might have a meeting every Thursday of the month about 6:30 at night.
Oh, that would be fun.
If you're interested in coming,
Yeah,
I think there's one coming up, and but great. Well, thank you all for being here. If not that other agenda, I'll call this meeting to order at 6:33, and I'll do a quick roll call. Those in attendance, it's myself, Wolfgang Kepley.
Sue Lewis.
We're also joined by Lindell. So
Lindell, you're officially part of the committee now.
yeah,
Am I?
Well, I think it's very, very fluid.
If you're-
I don't think I'm officially on, but I would like to be in on some of the conversation.
okay.
well,
I will. Yeah, we can create an honorary.
If you're
membership.
showing you're a participant, so.
It's true. So we're also joined by Lindell and Todd Niedermeyer. So great. And if you like to join us in reciting the mission of the Human Rights Commission,
Oh, Lord, I've got to pull it up.
yeah,
Give you a
I
moment.
can give you a moment before. I don't want to read it by myself. Lindell, you ready?
Let me share the
I'm gonna
screen.
give everybody a moment. Oh, that's great too.
Can we do that?
Yes, please.
Please do.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Let me see. Let me maximize mine, and
So responsible.
I'm supposed to try to be that. Let's see here. Share screen. Which one is it? I've got too many screens open. Here we
You
go.
know this by now.
It's
I know, we
true.
should
Do
have
we
it
know
memorized.
it?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Almost, there we go.
I can.
Yep.
Great. So our mission is to act as a strong advocate, justice, and equal opportunity by providing citywide leadership and guidance in the area of civil rights.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm gonna try to stop sharing now. That's always the hard part, is stop sharing. Hold on, we're gonna get there. Oh, there it is. Stop share. Doo-doo.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, we
Missing
should
you.
try that from memory once and just see how it goes.
It's one sentence. We should be able to get it, but you never know. Say it once a month. All right, so moving on to matters by the public. Looks like we have no attendees in our audience. Very sad. Public is welcome to join us at any moment. And I will move on to our minutes. So if we look through, did everybody get a chance to read last month's minutes? I confess.
Actually read them, yeah.
Oh, you did? Great,
Yeah, they're
amazing.
fine since nothing happened.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of, well, I like, talked by myself for a while,
Right,
set us committed to a set number of readouts, and we actually did all those things.
Right.
So well done us. I will take a
yeah,
quick vote to approve the minutes. Do we approve the minutes?
yep,
Ayes, the ayes have it. Great, the minutes are approved. I'll move us into the work session. So it doesn't seem like, so next steps for the language access plan as I see it, feel free to add. I want to talk to Allison, our city attorney, to make sure that the comments Allison added are in line with what this resolution says. I don't want to send it on to our chair and then onward to council until we have that sorted out. So I sent her a couple emails and I'm hoping to hear back. Also invited her to join us tonight, but it seems like she's not on the call. So hopefully we can just sort that out by email, and maybe by the next Human Rights Commission as a whole, I might have some clarity with that.
Yeah, tell me what the specific question you were trying to get clarity on.
Yeah. Allison had crossed out beyond legal requirement, which implies we have different ideas of what this language plan is actually asking. And I just want to say, this is what this plan is actually proposing. Is that legally a problem? Because it would just be basically freeing the city to implement a language access plan at the citywide level. It's
Right.
not rooted in legal requirement. It's basically a totally optional additional services that are would be great for our citizens to have. And I feel like the city should move in that direction.
Right.
But most language access plans are rooted in legal requirement. And so the purpose of this resolution is to say the city should go above and beyond that legal requirement. And I just want to make sure that we're using the appropriate language in the resolution.
That's the one, that was the one key piece, right? That I
That was the
recall.
one key piece. I was
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I want to move this
was all-
forward, but I want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's
Yeah.
legally sound.
Do you want me to follow up with Allison? Sometimes I have a jurisdiction question. that
Yeah.
I'm trying to get an answer on as well, so I can
Sure.
bring you back on that one as well.
I can ping you if I haven't heard back from her by like Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to over bother.
Yeah.
Because I know she gets
Right.
swamped sometimes too.
There's some things happening in the
Yeah,
city
well-
that probably require her attention.
No, I'm sure.
I'm
Yes.
sure she does.
So if we're fine moving on, I'll move on to the next steps for the disability PSA project. I picked some of it up today. I went back and read through all of the emails that Phoebe and Melvin had sent back and forth. And I emailed out everyone who was contacted to participate in that project back in early 2020 and said, hey, getting started. I've heard back from one person expressing that they want us to clarify a little bit more about what this project is. And I feel like I have the information again, just really what Phoebe has sent to be able to pass that on to them. So at this point, what I just kind of want to clarify what are some of the readouts that we need to have happen to move that project forward. In my understanding, it's making sure that the participants who were contacted are in, maybe adding some new participants, clarifying that people are comfortable with the general script that was written by Phoebe and Melvin. It looks good to me, but if people have any additional feedback, that it's still a stage where that can be incorporated. And then looping in city media services to come and join us.
Mhm.
There were a couple, so those 4 things. There were a couple other emails to like ARC and IRC and Jim Herndon, and I wanted to see are we trying to pull in specific organizations to be involved with this or just individual people? I guess that question goes to Todd.
Yeah, I think the intent of including those organizations was that they had contact with people with lived experience and could maybe recommend people that might be interested and or willing to participate and be spokespeople. So I think that was the intent there. Yep.
Okay, cool. Then I'll try to loop them into it. Just be like, hey, this is still happening. If you have any new people you want to send to us or have any feedback or thoughts about this project, we're all your humble servants. Cool.
Very good. And
Do you
you
have
got the,
Mhm.
oh, you got the email that I forwarded from Brian that
Mhm.
York Place is available and they can do remote. They can do all sorts of different things. We just have to have a plan, I think, and some
Yeah.
dates and schedule it around whatever else they've got going on in the studio.
Have you ever worked with them before? And do you have a sense of what kind of timeline they would work with?
Nope.
Like if we say, hey, let's come down 2 weeks from now, they're like, we can handle that, or
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
I work at the media center quite a bit, actually.
Yay!
hey,
And,
excellent,
The right guy.
great.
I can say that, I mean, more notice is probably better, but like just whenever, just tell us what date you're looking at and we'll let
Okay.
you know, if there's anything booked or,
2 weeks
scheduling
would be extremely ambitious. We tend to move pretty methodically.
Gotcha.
But I was just curious if there's like COVID restrictions or things we have to think about. Business
we,
hours, availability on like weekends or times that the people who are being interviewed might be available. Just the kind of those
Gotcha.
considerations.
Well, all of our staff wear masks when we're, with members of the public there, and we ask people to wear masks, but when they're like on camera and like doing like a production, then masks are not required.
So I'm curious, what is going on at York Place? Where do you do it? In that middle area that is used frequently by all sorts of interesting groups? I haven't been down to York Place in ages.
I think I know what you're referring to, and yes.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big space that has been used off and on by, I mean, I've seen the Dems use it for various things. Okay, I know where it is.
Yeah, we would definitely be giving more than 2 weeks heads up. It's more just
Okay, that would be good.
yeah.
Yeah.
about scheduling. Do you know anything? I'm glad I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you know if they have like what kind of hours they tend to film?
I mean, we kind of have regular office hours, but those are also flexible, and we schedule various producers in there week to week, and evenings and weekends are available on a case by case basis. So it's really kind of open in the air, where we're willing to work with you guys as far as scheduling.
Great, thanks. That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we could also think about, venues too, if some people are uncomfortable from a COVID exposure, or other, like, for example, if someone had multiple chemical sensitivities, they may not even be able to use that space and may have to be outside. I don't know if that's, Remy, is that even a possibility to film outside or do recording outside?
It is. We actually have a couple of portable cameras here in studio that we loan out to producers from time to time. So yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it'd be cool to find some good places around town to shoot, as well as in the studio or remotely if someone wants to record from the comfort, safety of their home. So cool.
Absolutely.
Great. Wow. Kind of broadens creative possibilities. Have to ponder on that. Thanks. So I guess it's just a matter of waiting to hear back from folks who were already wanting to be part of the original project, and then I can reach out to ARC and IRC folks to see if they want to, if there's anybody who wants to be involved. Great.
Mhm.
And then I guess I'll move on to new business. I don't think do we have any new business?
Lindell might.
Lindell.
Thank you. I kind of mentioned this in an email, and I don't know if this is something that we want to bring in here, but I'm really keen on this plain language thing as an equity issue, right? And I know that traditionally accessibility may not be this particular thing, but I do think it is an accessibility issue. I think that, just back up a little bit and say that there's actually, the federal government actually has a law that says we're supposed to be doing things in plain language, and most people just ignore it, right? So I do think that there is a compliance issue there that we could be looking at, but mostly I'm concerned that we put out a lot of information, not just us, but everybody in the city puts out a lot of information that is really dense. And I consider myself to be a pretty well-read person. I read really well. I read a lot, and I struggle to read a lot of the things that the city puts out. It takes a lot of brain power and a lot of energy that I think is completely unnecessary. And so what I would like to do is for us to take the lead in writing things as plainly and clearly and simply as we can. And if the city says we still have to do this really dense, legal language, well, that's fine, but we should at the same time put out something that is understandable. So anyway, that's just my pitch. I'd like to see if this is something that could be considered as an accessibility issue as well.
No, I think it absolutely could be. I don't know from a legal standpoint, but again, we're accessibility committee. We are not beholden to ADA,
right?
Like legal requirement.
Yeah, it's not our only issue.
Do we think that it might be possible to use the upcoming human rights resolution of the language access plan as a workshop for that? To just, as we propose a resolution with formal language, to also write a separate copy. It's still in its working draft stages, and I think it's the only resolution we've written this past year. So it could be our opportunity to push that out.
So yeah, if you're interested in doing that, I did want to offer something. A good friend of mine is kind of she's actually a world expert on plain language, and she's taught me a lot about how to do this kind of thing. And she would come and do a workshop, or she would help do a piece of that if we were interested. I know she would. It would be Zoom because she's in New Zealand, but she would do it. But then also, yeah, I think just going ahead and doing it, there's some evidence that writing it first in plain English, right? Just plain language. What are we trying to accomplish? And then turn it into the legal stuff, but start with the plain language stuff, right? So anyway,
I agree. Just as a writing exercise, that really helps to clarify your mission, your purpose, and make sure that you're not camouflaging a lack of intention with fancy words, which happens all the time. It definitely happened to me as I was writing the resolution. Like, wait, what is the purpose of this? So yeah, and Linda, I love the idea of bringing your friend into either our subcommittee or pass that back up to Mary to make the call about the whole commission.
Okay.
If we want to pursue clear language as a goal, but I think that'd be a perfect fit for this subcommittee.
Okay, thanks.
Would love for you to join me on that.
I will.
Excellent. Honorary subcommittee member. So great. Sue, do you have any thoughts, or Todd?
No, I like the idea of everything in plain language, and if you can work, some of that into our accessibility document in some way, because we're asking for the city to do something, while not exactly legal. Trust me, it'll have legalese in it. And if we can, somehow add something like that to our resolution about the one that we're working on. I was looking at it again, and I thought, yeah, you could squeeze, some language in there about ensuring that
simplicity of language. Language is clearly communicated by the city.
That the public is that the language of this, whatever we do, is easily understood by the public.
Okay.
Actually, go ahead.
I was saying 2 thoughts about that. 1, is it too late? We've already voted on it. And then 2, I think maybe the defining what a language accessibility plan comes after the proposal to do it in the first place. And so I feel like we probably should start working on a plan of what we envision as a language access plan. So when the city comes and says, hey, this idea sounds palatable, we'll hope it's palatable to them. Tell us more. We'll have things like that to include. So, Lindell.
Yeah, I think that what is the resolution, A21? I can't remember the
HR 21-1.
Yeah, I think I had drafted I think in there is language that actually says for it to be in plain language, easily understand. Todd, do you happen to have it handy? Because I didn't, my computer is giving me trouble.
Yeah, it's the one that Wolfgang wrote, or
Yes.
That's actually should still be in the packet.
yeah, it's in the agenda
It's in the
package. Can we
packet,
pull it out? Can we
agenda.
screen share it?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit small. Let me see if I can finagle this a little bit here.
And I agree with you, Sue. That was kind of what I was thinking too. If we put that in our resolutions and if we put it in our things, that this is a principle.
That,
Mhm.
that strikes me as being a way to go, somehow work it in as a principle in any written or oral responses to anything, that we try to get it in a way that the general public can easily understand what is being said. You can, play with the language on that, but
Yeah.
something to that effect.
Yep. Todd, do you have the one that's plain language version?
Did you write that?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's somewhere in that
Oh, I
packet. I
haven't
saw
seen
it.
that.
of this
Yeah.
very resolution, or is it of
Yes.
the 821-1? Here, I'll stop sharing and pull
It's
up
not
the-
this one. It's not this one. It's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's actually in the next.
Oh,
agenda
it's in that. Okay, never
I
mind.
can pull that up really easily. It's
Okay.
right here.
Right, it is in the other, it's in the.
I knew I'd seen it. I guess I hadn't looked at this one.
Yeah, I guess I could have put it in both agenda packets.
Also,
really.
yeah, yours is A21-1,
Thank
ours
you.
is HR 21-1.
That's right.
Right,
They can't both be 21-1,
They can both be that as long as they have different code at the front.
right?
This one's administrative,
Mhm.
basically. Your other one is a policy. So here I'm trying to do here.
Purchase. Oh, I
Should
love
be on
this.
Screen. I think this is the right one. Close the thumbnails. Can you see it? Or not
Okay.
yet?
Not yet.
I did it wrong. Share. I forgot to hit the share button. I think I have this down by now. Let me scroll down to where the,
The third
Pardon me.
attachment.
because I did put that in here, I think.
Yeah, you did. I saw it earlier.
It's probably above, isn't it? I'm sorry. I scrolled right to the, oh, that's a big
Yeah, there we
thing.
go.
Is this it?
I have it up on my screen, so. I don't
Is this
know.
it?
You've got it. It's up above that, Todd. If you
Here it
keep,
is.
there you go. There you
Plain
go.
language version. Yeah.
Right. And then down at the bottom, we will use plain language because human rights work should be easy to
Easy to
understand.
understand.
There's some variation of that, right?
I like that.
Yeah. And the thought is that, and I was trying to remember this, like we talked about these as companion documents to the formal document, which I think is nice because then but it would be amazing if we could just convert all to plain language, but I don't know if we're there yet, but in the meantime, we have two parallel documents. I think that's really nice. I think the other thing we have to think about too is just the ability to do it. Like, how does the commission want to work on those things, like translating existing resolutions that we already have? I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's hours of work. I could also try to, in the future, like recruit interns and volunteers to do that. But it can be hard because right now I just have them typing all the minutes and data.
Yeah.
I volunteer to take a shot at it because I've been working on this, trying to learn how to do this. And so I feel I actually kind of enjoyed this.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Well, I think it's neat. Yeah, it'd be really, really valuable. And I think then, what we would maybe want to do, and I don't know if we need to then, I guess we don't have to approve the resolution as drafted in plain language. Does the commission need to
I
approve?
think the commission should approve it probably.
Okay, that makes
Right.
sense. Just to make sure that the content reflects the actual resolution. But I
Yeah,
think once we
absolutely.
do that, I can then put those on the website, like either underneath or right next to, or plain language. You just have a whole like plain language section. I don't know. We'll have to think about how we organize it, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel comfortable drafting it, but I do think the commission should at least read it and go, yeah, this captures it accurately. It won't capture it in the detail necessarily, but it will
Yep.
capture the intent.
And you could put in the plain language version for more
Please.
detail. You can read the not very plain language.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just link back and forth.
mean, it makes sense. It's fairly common to have an executive summary at the head of every complex policy document. So we should do similarly for ours. And
Yep.
they're already fairly short documents and resolutions that we're summarizing. So
Mhm.
I think going forward, it's something that we could be able to incorporate.
We're gonna
That's a
need
great
to
idea.
for the new, if we pass the new ordinance, because it's already like 3 times as long as it.
Yeah.
With all those federal statutes, it's a real,
Mm.
yeah, it's getting complicated.
Well, thank you all for giving me that time to talk about that.
Thanks, Lindell.
It's a great topic. Should I stop sharing?
You can.
In the spirit
Yeah.
of collaborating across committees too, I also think that the PSA project has community engagement aspects.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to put a plug in each time that the Community Engagement Commission or committee meets to say, hey, you should talk to Wolfgang and Sue about helping them out on that PSA
Yeah.
thing. So I'll do it again this evening, but I think that is this sort of cross pollination between committees is important because really it's all one major thing, right? It's how do we treat our public with respect and
Right.
cool.
Well, I'm going to lead this wonderful committee meeting. And
Last one.
and let y'all know that if you ever want to contact me and pick my brain, I'm available.
Will do.
Okay?
Thank you, Sue.
Sue, do you
Thanks,
want to
Sue.
adjourn our meeting?
No, you may adjourn it.
We'll give you the
You
opportunity.
still have 3 minutes to go.
I feel like
I
we
know,
should
but-
sing a song or something. I don't know.
No.
I know.
I mean, the next step is public comment. We have no attendees. It's just us speaking out of the void, being streamed across 4 platforms. And
No,
maybe someday Molly Conger's Twitter feed. Maybe we'll make that
carry
work.
on. And Wolfgang, I can't leave without saying how pleased I was to see you come back on the commission.
Oh, shucks.
It first of all, it made me feel way less alone because all of the other people are so new to me.
Yeah.
But it did make me feel less alone. But anyway, you're doing a great job and continue to do that.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks
Really
Sue, for all
appreciate
your work.
you.
A fearless parliamentarian.
Mhm.
Yeah. Off we
I'm not
go.
sure how we're going to continue without you.
Oh,
but
you'll muddle.
you know when we
through.
meet. So we hope to see you visit.
I'm leaving.
All right, take care.
Bye,
Sue.
Sue. Take care.
Bye.
Wolfgang, are you going to stick around for the next one or are you out?
I have to leave.
Okay.
But I hear your ideas about cross-pollination, and if anybody from the Hugh Community Engagement wants to help and support the PSA project, much appreciated. Right now, it's just me sending emails, but it'd be great to have extra feedback on the script and any contacts people might have that would want to be involved and speak from
Great.
the lived experiences to represent. For folks who aren't looped in, the project is to better represent community within Charlottesville, people with disabilities, and specifically people with invisible disabilities,
Yep.
and interview people speaking from their experiences. So
I may be
wanna
able
be
to help with
involved.
that. I may be,
Awesome.
okay.
great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll be available after for emails and follow up. But otherwise, see you all next Thursday.
Bye, okay.
See you, folks. Bye.
Welcome, Jessica. Welcome, Jeanette. Good to see you both.
Hey Todd. Hey Jeanette and Lindell.
Hi, Jessica.
Got an
Did you
email
see
from
Moya?
Andy that he won't be with us this evening.
Did you see Moya, Jessica? No. Okay. You doing okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Did she present already?
No, I think she's starting now.
Okay. Yeah, my daughter, I was supposed to message you. My daughter has my phone, so I won't be able to pop in. But how long is her time? Is she only doing it for 30 minutes?
Yeah, it says, I think 7 to 8.
Okay.
One of who a recent PhD recipient that Jessica and I have both worked with for years, who's going to be very famous someday. Moya McTeer.
It really is.
Yeah, she's going to be the next, I don't know, what Bill Nye, the next.
Fast, Bill Nye, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So she's presenting this evening, is that it?
Yeah, our student conference is going on right now, and she's going to be presenting her work. We're going to have to miss it.
Will it be recorded? Will you be able to see it?
It is recorded, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, well, should we stop the meeting and
Yeah.
We all should stop and just like, you know.
Let's go watch Moya.
we just screen share it on the side while we're talking?
Yeah. She's
And
pretty
then didn't
good.
we do that with something? We did that when with the inauguration during a CFJN meeting, didn't we?
Really?
I think so.
Actually, we probably could bring it up. I could probably bring it up on my screen and then screen share.
Yes.
Well,
That's all right.
I don't think we're expecting. Do you know if anyone else is coming, Jessica? I know that Andy is not. So
Jessica, yeah, you're leading it, right then?
Yes, so I guess we can go ahead and call this to order. I mean, is that okay? I know we only have 30 minutes. Roll call, Todd?
you all can just say your names. That'd be just fine.
Linda,
Jeanette, Abby Nader.
Jessica Harris. Let's recite our mission statement. Act as a strong advocate for
advocate
justice
for-
and equal opportunity by providing citywide leadership and
Leadership.
guidance in the area of civil
civil
rights.
rights.
I was trying to do it from memory and I can't.
I tried to too. I couldn't do it.
But I never can. Do we have any public comments? Do we even have public here?
Sadly,
No.
no attendees this evening.
Okay. Molly is not here.
Not even
She-
Molly. Yeah.
Okay, so then there's
Right
a
now, I think she's at that.
commission response. So we have to approve our minutes from last month. It's hard to believe last month was September. I wasn't there, so I have to abstain.
Neither was I.
I approved. This is the one I was at, right? That was, okay.
Yeah, I believe you were there.
Yes.
Yes, you were there.
Let's look. I can look real quick. Yeah, it was.
I think
you
it was
and-
Andy and I, yeah.
Also, I think I don't know what a quorum is in a committee. If you're not opposed, I think we'll say it's, tentatively approved. And if Andy has opposition, he can voice it at the next Human Rights Commission.
That sounds good.
And I'm gonna do the public shout out to Jenny Helmendaler, who's been doing minutes for
Yeah, thank you.
months now, and just like taking a huge workload for the Office of Human Rights. So
Thank you,
she's
Jenny.
gonna do the next wave of minutes for the big meeting. So yay.
She's done a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't do my like emoji cons, but I would definitely be doing a clapping hands. So then we have a review of the plain language document, work and next steps, which I know Lindell, you had insights on.
Yeah, I don't have it up here. I was telling Todd, I've got having problems with my computer today.
Whatever you'd like me to screen share, I'm happy to do. Just let me know.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind just screen sharing what we have so far with the plain language thing, and Jeanette or Jessica, should I go over why we're doing it again, or is that clear enough, or should I?
I'd love a quick review. I
Okay.
read it, but it's so many words. I just was having a hard time digesting them.
Okay, so the idea here is that the ways in which we put out our resolutions, with the city language. If you scroll down a little bit, Todd, to the actual city one, right? It's pretty inscrutable, I think. It's really hard to read. It's very dense. It requires a lot of mental attention and energy. And there's two things that are driving this interest for me. One is that I think that it is an equity issue. I think that it's really hard for people, including myself, to look at this and pretty quickly understand what it is that we're supposed to be doing and what our goals are. It can be done. It's not completely impossible, but it takes a lot of work and energy to do. And there's actually a law, a federal law that says that government documents, federal government documents need to be in plain language. They need to be easily understood by the public. We don't have that law apparently in Virginia or for state government things, but it's just hard. And so what I'm proposing that we do is that we write a plain language version of the legal documents that we're required to create, that we just say it in pretty easy to understand and pretty easy to read language. And I'd go further and say, it'd be really great to make it super simple, like the flyer, right? So have several levels of this. We can easily point back to the original document if people want to see the whole thing, but I'm proposing that we just create plain language versions of everything that we produce from now on, and maybe even go back and do some of the, redo some of them, or at least create plain language versions. And I think Wolfgang, used a pretty great way. It's kind of like an executive summary, right? It's basically just bottom line, here's what we're doing and why. So that's what I'm proposing to do. I'm volunteering to do the drafting. And then I think what would happen is that the commission read it over and say, yep, you captured everything, or nah, I think you need to add this, but it should be approved by the commission. And then we just post it on the website and link to the original resolution. That's fine. But that's what I do. I think it's an equity issue. And I'd like for us to pursue it.
I had a question. So the one thing I didn't quite understand was if, like, what the 3 different versions were. So the official version would be the later one, right? The attachment 4 that has all the details. And then would the plain language one be the flyer or the text? Or we would have 3 versions of it. We'd have a plain language, official language, and then a flyer for posting.
So I think my understanding of the way our requirements are from the city, right? That the city attorneys have said, we need to have that whereas document, right?
Yeah.
That has to exist, right? And so what I am proposing is that, okay, we have one, we have this, whereas document, but we also have every single time a plain language version of it, right? We create one simultaneously. In fact, I was saying earlier, it's actually easier to write these things in plain language first. Here's what we're trying to do. So we just do that work first. And then, we can turn it into the legal stuff. But for practical purposes, for sharing, what I'd like to see us do is on our website, on the Human Rights Commission website, we put the plain language version up, link to the more dense version, and then have the flyer version as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I did have that suggestion that the plain language, I really like the layout, and I like the flyer and everything too. I don't see a link on the plain language version to the more official one, which I think would be helpful, but you mentioned that was
Yeah, I didn't have a link to it yet. I mean, I don't think it's live yet anywhere. So, but I would envision doing it when we do have it.
And then my last suggestion was in the whereas version, in the official version. I'd love to suggest that under be it further resolved, on the next to the last page, second paragraph from the bottom, where we give the chair authority to prompt action. I think I would like for the chair to at least notify the commission, so that anytime, so at least there's an email in our box that says, I will be sending this to council. Here's the text or whatever, even if it has to be urgent. I would like to add something like that.
That makes total sense, that they need to be that we need to be notified. Yeah, that's great. I actually didn't catch that wasn't in there. It seems like that should be for sure. And actually, Todd, I don't know this too, but the other thing is, I know that in the plain language version, there's an explanation at the very end, why we're doing this, that it's that probably should be in the whereas version as well. that we will do a plain language version. And I can't remember if I put that in there or not.
Oh, that's cross-reference them. That makes a
It
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Uh-huh.
should definitely be cross-referenced. Okay.
Maybe it actually as in the be it resolved, you know,
Yes.
in our commitment to plain language rendering of all of our documents. We'll
Yeah.
also link.
Yeah, I think we should be official. Yeah, we should be officially doing this, not unofficially doing it. Right.
Those are good points. Agree with that. Do you guys think like with the request to, I know it's always hard, but I don't mean that we have to add this, but like, do we want to put it, because sometimes this stuff has turned around like quickly, like on Sundays, like it's just really, I know for myself, hard to like pay attention and keep up to emails, but are we going to put in here? I'm not saying it has to be, I'm just asking, what do you guys think about like putting in like enough notice for us to read it, or is just Jeanette, you think a FYI, like please chair, send it to us with enough time for review, or what do you think?
The way it says is when a human or civil rights issue requires prompt action that must occur before the commission can convene in a publicly noticed meeting. In which case the commission authorizes the commission chair to take advocacy action on behalf of the whole committee without a prior majority vote of approval during a publicly noticed regular meeting. So we could add like a clause there that has two pieces to it. I think your suggestion is a good one too, like to give 24 hours or 48 hours notice when that's not possible, to at least inform the, like, so those have it be on a scale. One's at a publicly meeting notice, one is that we at least have the opportunity to give input by mail, even though it's not, I read that we weren't allowed to vote by mail, but we could at least give input on a document. And then the third one is just to at least inform us.
I like that idea too. I think essentially that what we're doing is we're trusting that we're placing trust in the chair, right? I mean, so we're assuming that, right? But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that where possible, 24 hours or 48 hours, we're feasible.
Because I know some people on the commission would appreciate that, like just because our names are being assigned to this, and I personally would hate I'll speak about myself and use I statements. Like I hate to post something that like my name was attached to, and I just didn't have a chance to like read over it and give impact. And then there was something that was like I wasn't full in agreement with.
Right now we're kind of aligned, but if it could be that the members of the commission have very different opinions about things at one point in the future. So that is important.
It really is. And I guess that becomes where we have to make a decision here, though, because I think one of the reasons we did it is for cases when there isn't 24 hours, right? When it just needs to be said. And so where is our comfort in that? And we need to be agreed on that, right?
I mean, I like Jeanette's suggestion, like kind of a two-part thing, like, within 48-hour notice when possible, with at least being able to notify us that it's going out. Like, and again, it's not just like something that goes out. Of course, we're doing this because we want to be as responsive as possible to things that we are all agreeing upon that we should speak out on, but giving an opportunity just to let us be aware. Like, I'd hate for something, I don't know.
I hear you. I hear you.
So, Jeanette, I like what you said. Do you mind adding that in there? And then I guess we're proposing this to share with the commission in our next meeting.
Sure, let me play with the language. I'll put it into the chat. Is that helpful, Todd?
Yeah,
Or-
you can do that. Or if you don't, if you want to kind of mull it over using the chat, that's fine. Or if you want to email it to me, I can drop it in there and then the full commission can review it. But if you'd like to workshop it here, that's fine too.
I had one other question too. Do we want to say something about the vice chair? If the chair is not available, this authority transfers to the vice chair or something?
I guess that's assumed in the
Okay,
rules and procedures, but why not include it? It's not a big deal, right? It's an easy thing to add.
I'm taking a shot here. Or Jeanette, are you already doing that?
no, go ahead. I was just starting. Please do.
Okay. Okay.
I know what plain language is because I've learned a lot of it from Lindell, but in like our flyer or somewhere, do we want to like provide like what that is, like a definition for plain?
That's a great idea. Yes. Yes, I can draft something up to,
Okay.
that's a really good idea.
That's
Oh, and I wanted to mention, I mentioned this in the previous workshop or the previous committee meeting. You know, my friend, Jessica, you probably know my friend Shelley now. She's a plain language kind of expert. And I know that I could get her to come and give us a small workshop or give us a bit of a training on it if at any point we want to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Lindell, is it like an official term that means something other than just plain language?
Yeah, if you look up plain language, there's a whole thing about it. It's actually used in the federal government. Yeah, it's just plain language.
They have a whole handbook for plain language.
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
And that's why I'm bringing it up, because the outreach person in me is always wants to break down things to the most simplest. When you're introducing new terms and terminology, like being clear about this is what we're defining plain language is, you know?
Yeah. That's a great idea.
I do like the irony of like a manual to explain plain
Plain
language.
language. Okay.
I'm drafting something too, Lindell, something like the chair will aim to provide, you know, do you want to share what you have so far, or
Oh, I'm just typing it in, but go ahead, because yours sounds better than mine already.
why don't you read what you have?
I just said where possible, but I like the chair shall aim. Where possible, the chair should provide a draft statement to commissioners and allow 24 or 48, whatever we say, hours for feedback. And then I was just going to say, if the issue is urgent and that amount of time is not allowed, then an email notification, something like that.
That's perfect.
Okay.
What do you think, Jessica?
That sounds good to me. I was trying to find where we were.
It's at the very bottom of the next to the last page.
Yeah, thank you. It took me just longer than it should have to find it. I found it though.
Yeah, okay.
Did one of you type what you just said in the chat?
I'm doing that now. Yep.
Oh, you're doing it now. Okay.
Yep.
And then would you like me to then add it into the document, then include
Thank
that
you.
in the agenda packet for the next human rights?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you, Todd.
Lindell, did you make this flyer?
Yes. Mhm.
I like it. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks.
I like woke up out of my sleep one day thinking about the like the procedure, Todd, like you walked me through once of like how you make a complaint. Like I don't like, I know we're wanting to do the whole ordinance, but I'm thinking of like things we can ship out. Like, of course, the ordinance is really important. It will take time to do that, but I want Lindell and Jeanette to know like how you guys felt about that, because I feel like that's a huge barrier. Like reading our document of like the process of how you file a complaint and all of the steps, like that's where Todd is getting people the most. And again, Todd, you can speak up, but I just feel like that should be very clear, and it's not. Like I think of like a priority, maybe that could be like the next document that we work on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You know, I'm glad you bring that up, because it also makes me think, like I've been pondering, you know, we've been talking about the disability PSA project, but I also have just been thinking about general PSAs about the Office of Human Rights and the Human Rights Commission. Like what is it, right? Having like some sort of graphic, you know, like almost like a cartoon, you know, it's kind of strange, like to have like these cartoon sort of quick presentations on television and other places where like, what are human rights? You know, how do I know when I've experienced discrimination? What does it look like? And what can I do? Like what is, and maybe even like a similar thing, you know, have a graphic depiction, not necessarily like complicated, colorful charts, which I think in some ways help make it clear, but it's also, those are pretty complicated as well. But to have, you know, some sort of almost like again, like a cartoon that says like, when I walk up to the Office of Human Rights and I file my complaint, here's what might happen. And it's just like, and just sort of like walks through the process in miniature. I mean, you know, something that takes sometimes like a year to get through, but just sort of take them through and show them interviews and show like evidence and all that kind of stuff. It might be interesting.
I also like the idea of like the visual that way and also like a flow chart, like Lindell and I see that a lot in our job. It's like, what happens when you do this? All right, like, how do you know that you should do that? Like, okay, if I bring this, then it would cause it may be cause through the whole process. If I bring something else, it may not cause the whole process and then like start back into the beginning. And so like a mixture of both, I'm saying, like a flow chart kind of thing, but also like a visual that you're describing.
Thank you, Lindell, for what you said.
Please feel free to edit it.
Well, I was just going to say so it should go in two places. One it will be further resolved in that way at the bottom on page 13. And then in the plain language one, under the "we commit to being a strong advocate for human rights," the paragraph in the middle. When this happens, we give the commission chair permission to act on our behalf. And then just to add the same sentence, I think, where possible, the chair, unless there's a plain language version of this.
So,
or we could say we give the chair permission to receive feedback via email on the draft or act on our behalf when needed.
yeah, that is really interesting, because I think what I was trying to do in the plain language version was not so much the details of how the function, but just what would happen. Like from a public point of view, do they need to know that we've told the commissioner that we want 24-hour notice? I mean, we may, right?
Yeah, but that makes sense. So the act on our behalf is detailed further in the whereas.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Just because sometimes that's where where people get lost in the weeds. It's like, oh, you have to do this and this and this and this. People don't care about that.
But maybe we should say according to the.
Yes, that would be good. Yep. Following let me think of
the detailed resolution.
Yes. As described in the detailed resolution. Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Can I just say it makes me very happy that you all are looking at this in detail, because I think I drafted this probably over a year ago. And I'm so glad it's getting some attention.
Finally getting some traction.
It's something that we like bump up against almost like every few months. And so I'm so glad that you're thinking it through.
That's perfect. Or yeah, to commission permission to act on our behalf as described in the detailed resolution. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. And then Todd, do you also have the reciprocal statement do you have a note on that to put it in the resolution?
In the one that.
In the whereas one.
Wait, so yes, I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that we will do things in plain language too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Todd, I'm really intrigued by this idea of that like a little video.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this could be a project that we could recruit somebody from UVA or Piedmont, someone who needs to do a project like this. I'm willing to reach out and see if we can find someone who would just create a video for us, right? I mean, this is something a 20-year-old can do in their sleep,
Yeah. But like a graphic arts student,
Exactly.
Or like
Yeah.
a media student, they might be really like psyched to do something
Mhm.
with art that's actually has like maybe a really clear public benefit as well.
Yeah.
For the students. So yeah, and I think it's also a good conversation to have with communications, because I also want to use the communications platform to put it out, right? So I want to think about like how do we then talk to Lasheen about how she taps into all the social media channels and how do we make it accessible on the city website, those sorts of things. So it's a kind of a big lift, but it could be taken in small bites, kind of like Jessica was suggesting, like let's pick a piece and start. And I think maybe the start for me would be, just this, like, what are human rights, right? Because so many people think lots of things are human rights that aren't the human rights that are actually protected by law, although they're important things. And so I think that's being able to define that in plain language and graphically would help people know whether they need to contact us, right?
Yep.
And I think to, like, I know we're not in production, but like keeping it to like a minute, because that's usually like what people's spans are, but then it like, you can do it for different things, like, like modulate it down. But I like the idea of like just putting something out there about what is human rights. I mean, I just recently did a seminar for students about this, like understanding your protected rights. And it made me think about what we're doing here with the human rights. Like there's local law and then there's federal law that protects us, and then how they all work together. It's confusing. And but being able to provide like really good examples for people to reach out.
Yeah, I think so too, because as Todd said, there's a human rights definition that is much more broad than the realm in which we actually can legally work, right? And I think that's an expectation that would be very helpful for us to set for people. While we agree that, there's all these other things that happen to you that are horrible, right? And that we want there to be change on, the ability for us to act in certain realms is very limited. And I think it's important to let people know that, because maybe eventually we can find a step further and say, we can't help you, but maybe these people can, right?
I will say with my work with Cultivate Charlottesville, we're guilty of confusing that, because we talk about food as a human right. Like we have our statement, we believe food is a human right. And I think it's important for us to do that, recognizing that it's not a legal human right, but it's a human right, an inherent human right, nonetheless.
And I think it's important for us to do that as well, right? To say, yes, we recognize we believe this is an inherent human right, right? But our power is limited in that realm.
Yeah. In the old brochure, I used to, because when I first started, like that was one of the things I thought about a lot, like, because we had old brochures that never really defined what human rights were. And so I started like toying around with like, what is the words in it? And I came up with something like it's an activity of daily life that anyone should be able to pursue without fear of discrimination, right? And so like, but then you have this term discrimination that you have to define, but then you get into, well, what is actually protected by state law? What is protected by local law, local ordinance? What is protected by federal law? And then, if you want to get really into it, like what is international, what is internationally protected as a human right? And who does that? Who enforces that? So, but it gets complicated, but that was kind of I had to do that for myself just to sort of wrap my head around, like, what am I talking about here? But I don't include that in the brochures anymore. Now it's just more of like, it comes out through talking with people, but yeah.
It would be helpful.
But I think that is a great exercise, right? That's one thing I learned most about being good at public speaking is like, how did I learn this concept? Like what stuck with me when I was learning this, and often how I learned it resonates with others. And so I think like being able to, like, I know it's an added thing on our end, but I think being able to explain, like, here's what the human rights can do. Like, this is what we're able to protect. That is not a limitation of what the state, like, here's also what the state can protect. This is the difference of like what state can protect versus federal law can protect, because federal law, for example, we like all should not be discriminated against sex, but like, again, how does it look different? And I think that's something that I can imagine is so overwhelming, just not understanding those nuances. And if we have something that clearly I always think about stuff as, what do they call it? Like, not infomercials, but infographics that say like, here's state law, here's federal law, here's our limitations with that.
Yeah, that's really good, Jessica. Yeah, I mean, I remember how much confusion and difficulty we had with the education piece, like that we are not allowed to get into. We could do, what was it, private education, but not public education, right? I mean, these are kind of weird realms in which we can't operate, and it's very disheartening and confusing, I think. Right? So
I think we only have till 7:30. It's 7:30.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just didn't realize the time went by so fast. So Todd, you're going to add this in so we can present for next meeting, the flyer, the A21-1 resolution, like the whereas version, and then the plain language version. That's the next steps. Okay. And then Lindell, do you mind taking a stab at the ordinance part that says like when you file a claim, like this is what happens, and trying.
Yeah, if somebody could just send that to me, so that I'm working on exactly the right thing, yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay. And then any other, did I miss anything, Jeanette?
Well, I just have a question. So attachment 5 in the packet is that bit that I worked on. And I think I probably misunderstood the assignment because it was 3 months after I said I would do it, that I actually sat down to do it. Is that right? Were we wanting to have some kind of template like this, or
Jenna, I think what you did was really great in terms of like the second page especially really captures like what Mary's been doing and kind of what we've come to realize is makes for an ADA accessible document when you save it as a PDF. And so I think that second part is very valuable. We had a kind of a Lindell and Andy and I had a long discussion about it last time where, you know, the first part of it is kind of reads like a resolution. In some ways, and sort of a plain language resolution, to be honest with you. And so I don't know that, you know, maybe that goes along with, but, you know, it's got some things in there, some of which we just talked about, like, you can't vote for things like outside of the meeting and stuff like that. I think I was trying to recall there's a reference in there, like when approved by a majority of the commissioners through email, that kind of stuff. We'd have to like, I think we sort of talked about the thing through purpose, through support was really kind of like captured in the resolution. And if it wasn't, we could grab language from your document and put it in the resolution that we felt was not in the resolution, and some of which you have, because you talk about now you're talking about how do you make sure that all commissioners are aware of what's being put out there by the chair and things like that. But yeah, I think this serves as the like last 2 pages are like excellent as a template for future use. So
we would do is strike the first page and then add the last 2 pages to the previous what? Or is it its own separate document, or does it get added to the plain language one?
yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if resolutions ever have like an attachment or an addendum, but why not? We could say, just for reference, attach it to the resolution and say, you know, when maybe another be it resolved when the chair does issue a public statement, they will generally follow this format. So then it's consistent.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it rises. Sorry.
I was going to say the same thing. I don't know that it needs to be a resolution. It can just be a document that we have that's something that we can reference when a new person comes on, they see it.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, so this is our working doc. This is our generally accepted way of doing things.
but striking that first page.
That's fine. Yeah. Maybe just hold it as a template. I didn't know how much weight you wanted to put on sort of making it an official document. Attaching it to the resolution would make it a little bit harder to then, like, if you deviated from it, you go, oh, I got to write another resolution, which kind of
I think
seems
it's
silly.
just meant to help with consistency and
Yeah.
be a reference for maintaining.
I like it.
I think
But I think the other point to make in this, you know, the reason that you have resolutions is to sort of codify, you know, the reasoning behind the things that you do, right? So you can say, we as a commission agreed that this is what we believe and why and how we're going to pursue what we believe. And when you, in your template, the one thing you might want to add is, you know, you can say something like, you know, as codified in resolution, yada, yada, you know, we issue this statement, you know, the Human Rights Commission issues this statement, something much more eloquent than that. But that's sort of the point of having those resolutions to back you up. So no one could say like, well, where are they deriving authority to do that? Well, you're like, well, resolution 821-1, and here it says. So that's just something to think
okay, so
about.
maybe just adding that to the
Yep.
bottom of this, like, I don't know. I'm bad at wording stuff, but like,
We can come up with that. Yeah.
yeah, this is so, I don't know, here written because of that, like on the authority of A 21-1. I don't
We'll
know.
try to plain language it a little bit more. than
Yes.
that.
I was failing in this assignment.
We can do that. I don't know.
That's the point.
Jeanette, do you want to take a stab at that, or do you want to?
Okay, so in the first paragraph, it says the role, and then it says in alignment of this mission and in adherence, we could just add, and in adherence to resolution 421, whatever, the Charlottesville Human Rights Commission stands in.
Yep,
You go right there. Do you need me to put that in the chat?
something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if you want to put it in there, or if you want to take a stab at like drafting it, since this is your kind of original work, you could.
If I don't do it now, I'm not going to get to it. So I'll just add some language in the text if that's okay.
Add it in the chat, and I've been dropping the stuff you guys put in the chat into a Word doc for future reference. Happy to do that.
Yeah, and actually, did we just say this? Is that what you were saying? I think what we want to make sure that we go in here, that it is that we use simple, plain language. That whatever statements we make should be. I think people will do that anyway, but I think that if we're creating a template, well, not so much, or if we're creating a template and then, is that what we're doing right now? We're still in the template?
Yes.
Yeah, although given that we're taking off the first page is where you would have said,
Yeah,
like under the protocol is where you would have said we would use plain language. But if we're getting rid of that first page.
yeah. I actually love the first page. I like them both, but all right, so the second page is an example.
It's a template.
Yeah, that's the point, right? Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I thought that, Todd, you had said that at the last community engagement meeting, you all decided that first page was not very useful and it's already kind of embedded in what we've just developed. Is that right?
I think that's where we're at with it. Yeah. Then it doesn't get confusing where you have like conflicting protocol or something in that versus the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I'm good now.
We've been on a journey with these documents. It's great though. I mean, now we have something really useful. So thanks for doing all that work.
Yeah, thank you, Jeanette. And thank you for Wendell.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. It's exciting.
So we didn't get to, so we talked about almost everything on our agenda, but we didn't get to next step regarding committee's proposed engagement plan. I think that's something we talked about, Jeanette, that 3 months ago, and then we haven't got a chance to get to what that looks like. So I don't know, we're gonna be kicked off now, Todd, like.
Should we do next meeting? We can focus on that.
Yeah. Okay.
That seems fair. And it might just out of kindness for, respect for Remy's time.
Yeah.
Might be a good idea.
All right, so there's no new business, so we'll just add that, Todd, for next meeting, proposed plan. And I know I keep asking the same question, but where are we with the, have approval for social media? Can we add that too for discussion next time?
Yeah, let's add that for the next time. I think that's a great idea. And yeah, I think the Facebook, the old Facebook is, I think, long gone because I think it got deleted. So we will be starting from scratch on social media. And yeah, I think we're still in the process of still getting everybody the city emails. I think most people have logged in, but there's still a few who haven't, and we still have the security forms, and it's so confusing. I didn't realize it was going to be so complicated to give you all an email address, but there you go.
Okay, so then we'll jump down to public comment if there is any, which I think we still have no attendees. So there's no response back. So we can adjourn the meeting now.
Okay, thank you both.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Have a
Have
good
a
night.
good night.